for the future junior parent presentation. My name is Christy Keener and I'm one of the assistant principals at Newbury Park High School. We're going to introduce our counseling team and we will guide you through how this evening's presentation works. We'll start with Tina Choi.
Hello, I'm Tina Choi. I'm the counselor responsible for last names A through DA.
I'm Tina Coleman, and I have the letters DE through J.
Hi, I'm Leslie Nedwick. I have letters K through MO.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for being here. I'm Edith Cortez, and I oversee students with last names MU through SANC, and our newcomers and English learners.
And Rick Napor, the counselor, SAND through Z.
Hi, everyone. I am Nikki Sanchez, and I am the College and Career Readiness Counselor.
Wonderful. So this is our wonderful, amazing Panther counseling team. And you are here again to learn all about your rising junior student. Those are our current Newbury Park High School sophomores. This presentation will give you a lot of information on registration and class selection information that you need for junior year. We are recording the presentation and it will be available online and via email for everybody tomorrow. So with that, I'm going to throw it over to Rick Napora, who will take it away from here.
Good evening, folks. And we'll go ahead and start with, let's see here. There we go. Oh, sorry. Got ahead of myself. There's a picture of us in real life. Nikki Sanchez is not in that picture because the picture was taken prior, but there's a breakdown of our alphabet and a way to contact us with our counseling secretary contact information. And to graduate from Newbury Park High School, keep in mind this is different than being eligible for a four-year college, because right now we're talking strictly about graduating Newbury Park High School. Students need 4 years of English, which we make them take. They need 3 years of math, which includes Algebra 1, and then 2 other flavors of math, whatever they choose. They need 2 years of science, which typically students will take in grades 9 and 10. Sometimes there's an exception and we might need to push that out a year. Social science, we make kids take 3 years, which would include world history, US history, and then government and econ. Then they need 20 credits of PE, which could include sports. For those who play a sport, they would earn 5 credits per season for whatever sport it is. And a multiple sport athlete can earn multiple 5 credits per season. And then we also have dance and weight training and so forth. Health, most of the kids in this presentation probably would have already taken it already. If they haven't, then the counselor can go ahead and speak with them about getting it knocked out before they graduate. This is confusing for a lot of parents and students. To graduate Newbury Park High School, you need one of the following: either a VPA, which is an acronym for Visual Performing Arts, which would include things like art media, photography, or they need a world language, which at our school would include ASL French or Spanish or Chinese, and then or a CTE, which is an acronym for Career Technical Education, which could include things like foods or wood shop or that sort of thing. And they just need 1 year of that combination, one of the ones I just spoke of. And then electives would be 75 credits. A lot of kids freak out thinking, how will I on earth get 75 credits? And so note that anything above and beyond the minimums in the categories I just described would roll over to electives. So some of your kids this year are taking a world language, that'll roll to an elective, or they're taking, an extra class in something that I described above, that too would go toward an elective, like another PE. Now to go to a four-year college or to be minimally eligible to apply to a four-year college, you still need history, but they only require 2 at the UC and CSU. Because we make your kids take 3, they're already covered. And then English, same thing, 4 years for the CSU, UC, and 4 years to graduate Newbury Park. Math is the first place you'll see a difference. As I mentioned at Newbury Park, you just need the 3 years of any kind of math, including algebra. To be minimally eligible for a CSU or UC, you need 3 years of math, but they need to be Algebra 1, Geometry, Algebra 2, and another 4th year is recommended. If kids came to us from over the hill like Camarillo, I believe they're still doing integrated math, so they might have an integrated math 1, which is a rough equivalent to Algebra 1, integrated 2, which would be like geometry, and integrated 3, which would be like the Algebra 2. And lab science, we make the kids take 2 years, and CSU, UC, same thing. this is where they start to differ. Whereas we had VPA or a language or a CTE for the UCCSU, an applicant would need 2 years of the same language, and they recommend 3 years. And I know a lot of people will ask, well, what if my kid took Spanish in 8th grade? That will count. It's the terminal year they look at. So if a student has Spanish 2 in 9th grade, that's their 2nd year. They also need a visual performing art, whereas before that was an option at Newbury Park. They need a year of the same area of visual performing art, which means it could be visual, meaning it could be dance, it could be music, it could be painting and drawing, those sorts of things. They just need to be the same area. And then a G elective, unlike our 75 credits of whatever electives, a G elective is a college prep elective that could come from the areas above, like an extra year of math or an extra year of science, or it could be one of the many electives that they have on the A through G website. And they do need a C or higher in all these academic areas in order to be minimally eligible to knock out that particular subject requirement. Now, we have a fantastic academic planner that could be accessed from the counseling website. We do have a drop down that's college readiness. And so what the kids can do is they'll open this up. It'll ask them to create a copy. They will then be able to use the pull down menus from each subject area, and they'll go ahead and indicate what they have taken thus far and what they are taking currently, what they're taking in the future. And then on the right-hand side, once they have a transcript in hand, or they can use Q, they can go ahead and click the boxes to indicate that they've finished that particular semester. And then you have a kind of a running roadmap of where your kids have been, where they're going, and whether or not it meets their future aspirational goals. The registration process, which kids are kind of in the throes of right now, we are going to the classrooms in person, and we are handing the students what's called a course registration form. You may have already seen one, hopefully. We would like the kids to have all their courses entered on Q, which is our student information system, by 2/20. And then what will happen is the students will bring the completed form. And by completed, we mean that they've signed it, you've signed it, hopefully seen it and blessed all their choices. And then we will meet with them individually during their classes, English. And if a student doesn't have an English class, we will haunt them from wherever we can find them and bring them in separately. And if it's, like I said, students who aren't in English will be called in. And the minimum courses, a lot of kids ask us, you know, what's the fewest amount of courses I can take, or how many courses do I need, or whatnot. And so all kids that are rising juniors are going to have to be taking 6 classes. And so we make it pretty easy. They all need an English. Most of them need a math. They're going to need their social science, which will be US history or IBHOA. That's 3 of the 6. And then a college-bound student would typically be taking another year of science. They would be taking another year of a language, hopefully, and then that would leave them with an elective. That isn't for all students. Some students are like, I'm done, I'm not taking a language, I'm done with science. Then they get more electives. What we tell the students is by the end of this year, they should have 120 credits. That's typically where kids land at the end of 10th grade, 60 credits per year. We tell them that if they're less than 110 credits, that's a warning flag, and they need to talk to the counselor about how they can remediate at least 10 credits that they may be shy of. And then again, all juniors are required to take 6 classes. Lots of kids asked us today, what counts as a class? Does, my sport count as a class? Yes. They can take 1 class at Moore Park College, which would count as a class. So there are various combinations. This is what the reg form looks like. Hopefully, again, you've seen it. We asked them on the left-hand side to put their name, parent name, an actual email address they check, a cell phone that's legit. So if we have to call them and say, hey, your schedule looks kind of wonky, we need to fix that. We'd love to be able to get a hold of them. There are also a lot of kind of rules in shopkeeping beneath the directions, and we ask that you read those. And on the actual digital version, which is on the website for counseling under registration, you can click the live links, one of which would be our course descriptions, another which would be the NC2A or NAIA for all future college athletes, and then a note about prerequisites with flowcharts. On the right-hand side, this is simply where the kids are going to write in on this number 1 slot. It's going to be English 11 or IB English, and there's a couple of flavors of IB English. They're going to pick a math. They're going to pick a social science, which again would be US history or IBHOA. They're going to pick, again, this is the college-bound student. I would recommend here that they pick a science. I would recommend that in the 5th position here, they pick another year of a language. But again, they don't have to. And if they choose not to, they would put their elective first choice where it says course, and then they need 2 completely different courses for alternates, because what our student information system will do is it'll try and get them in their first choice elective. And if that's not going well, it'll go to the number 1 position for alternate. And if that doesn't work, then number 2 position. And so what some kids do when they don't listen to us is they put the exact same alternates in positions 5 and 6, but that's not what we want. We want their elective first choice here, 2 alternates that are different from that choice, and then the next position, another elective that's not the same as any of the former 3, and then 2 completely different alternates. So yes, that's a lot of alternates, but depending upon student demand for things like foods, which is extraordinarily difficult to get because we haven't perfected cloning yet for the teacher, that's why we recommend that they read carefully all the course descriptions, figure out courses that they would settle for if they don't get their first position. The easy fix for that is to take another science and another math or another world language. If a student wants a 7th period class, and I'll talk about the new 7th period offerings we have in a minute, they would put down their first choice. Typically, if it's a core class, they wouldn't need an alternate. And that's the same thing for core classes in these positions. If a student decides to take another science, let's say they want to take chemistry, they'd put that here. And ordinarily we can get the kids chemistry if that's what they're seeking. And language, for example, if they're in Spanish 2, we can get them Spanish 3. There's no need for an alternate there. Down below, you'll also see I give permission for my student to have a free, and that means you would click or check the box and sign saying you would, as a parent, give your permission for your student to have a free period. We try to get them the period free that they may or may not need. We also put an alternate in case that conflicts with one of the electives they wanted. We also have a position down below for summer school, and that's just a student acknowledging that they're intending on taking a class in summer, and then where they're going to take it. And then if they do successfully complete it, we would like to know then what class they would want in lieu of that. And in some cases, it might not even be another class. It's just simply remediation because they want to. Then you will see on the form when your students bring it home on page 2, which is the left side of this screen, are all the courses that are available for a rising junior to choose from. And then on the right side would be the 0 period classes, which is the class that happens before the school day begins. And then the period 7 classes, and those are after the school day is over. And what you will notice is not only the title of the course, which is on your left under period 7, but you'll also notice on the right a description of whether it's hybrid, which means 2 days a week your student will be in school in 7th period in that teacher's class, and then the rest will be online, or the course would be online. And if it's online, the student literally doesn't set foot in that classroom that period. It's completely online. The ideal candidate for an online class or a hybrid class would be the student who has pretty good self-direction, who works on things and doesn't procrastinate. And the beauty of a 7th period is it can count in lieu of one of the other 6 periods during the day. So a student may decide, hey, I'm going to go ahead and take English 11 next year, 7th period as a hybrid, and then I'm going to have a free period 1 or 2, and I'm going to sleep in or whatever it is I need to do that period. And then down below, you'll see CEC, which is an acronym for Career Education Center. Those are the courses you might have heard about, like welding or auto shop, and much of them take place in Camarillo. There's usually, like, you've seen a bus probably that came in around lunchtime and would pick kids up and take them to various courses there. If kids are interested in that, they can click on the link, and there are specific instructions on how to sign up for one of those classes. This is, again, a 7th period kind of a breakdown. We showed it to the kids in the classes. On the left are the hybrid classes with a little bit of notes about the class. And then on the right would be the purely online options. What the kids are encouraged to do is maybe talk to the teachers that have taught 7th period or are currently teaching in 7th period if they want more information about it, like what is the workload like, or how should I stack it, that kind of thing. Teachers are the best source for that. And then we do have an international baccalaureate program, so I'm going to turn over the screen to, well, not the screen, actually, the microphone to Miss Doenshai.
Hi, everybody. I'm Debbie Doenshai. I'm the IB coordinator at Newbury Park High School. So I'm just going to briefly talk to you about this option and then show you where to get more resources if you need more information. I've been trying to reach out to students. I've been going into some of the 10th grade classes, and I've also been holding some lunchtime sessions. So we've had a good turnout. A lot of students have come in and heard the longer version of that, of this. But we offer, as an IB school, we offer IB and AP classes, and we also offer the IB diploma, which means there's an international organization, International Baccalaureate, that offers a diploma students can earn in addition to their high school diploma. And it does start in 11th grade. It's a 2-year program. Students do need to be in it for both years to get the diploma from IB. So what I generally tell students is for them to start thinking about what their schedule is going to look like anyway, course by course. And if they start realizing that they're signing up for IB level courses in all disciplines or mostly all disciplines, then they're a good candidate for being a diploma candidate. So if they are already planning to take IB English and they're planning to take IB History of the Americas, and they're at the 3rd year of their second language already, if they're in math analysis or higher, and if they're interested in, of course, taking some of the electives that we offer, then essentially they are meeting all the requirements to earn the IB diploma by adding on just a few core elements, which are all discussed on our website. I'm going to have Mr. Napora go to our school website for just a moment, if his screen will let him do that, so I can show you where to find this information. I did put the direct link in the chat, but so that you can find it on your own later. Under academics, you click on IB, and then when you go to their International Baccalaureate, when you get there on the bottom right part of the screen, you'll see information for prospective IB students and their parents. So there's various forms of information, including videos produced by me, produced by students, but very targeted at registration are 2 pull downs. One is planning your IB course pathways for grades 9 through 12. There's a set of slides there that literally go through, like, here are different pathway sequences. And there's also a video. The only thing that's inaccurate in the video is the reference to TOK should be period 7, but it's not necessarily going to be in conflict with other period 7. So there's a class called Theory of Knowledge that will fit in there. The other important link, because of the time that we are, and you guys, the students are starting to register next week. So if you click on submit your application for full IB diploma candidacy, up until today, it really just had a link to a Google form. There's a Google form there that actually isn't just a form that they fill in. It has a lot of information in the form. So it's intended to really walk the student and parent through the process, course by course, to determine if it makes sense for them to get all the way to the end and click submit. So by the end of it, hopefully you have a sense of like what the courses would be and what the extra requirements are and what it means. So many students have submitted there already. Anyone else who knows they want to be an IB diploma candidate, the easiest way to do this, if you haven't already given me your application, is to complete that Google form tonight. And first thing in the morning, I will be using that spreadsheet to populate registration forms, and then I'll go through transcripts and verify, sign all the forms of those who are eligible and get those back in the hands of students so that parents can sign them over the weekend and you're ready to register next week. I do also have paper forms, and some people have been coming in and just filling out the paper forms. So you're also welcome to print your own paper form. I put the link there, and I have a billion blue forms that I've been handing out in 10th grade classes. So get the information if you haven't. Anyone who has questions, I will be highly available in class E, in room E1 tomorrow. So people can come by in between any of classes, before school, after school. And I'm happy to one-on-one just quickly go through with a student and answer any questions and make sure that they've signed up for the right courses. All right, thank you very much.
Thanks.
Oh, one more thing, sorry, before I mute myself. It's actually the next slide. I'll let someone else talk to it a bit, but I've been talking mostly about the diploma program. It's also important to note that students can take just individual IB classes in the same way that they can take individual AP classes. Just note that most IB courses are 2 years in length. So they start them in 11th grade and continue in 12th. And in most cases test at the end of 12th grade at the higher level. So for taking higher level exams, students can potentially earn college credits in the same way they can earn college credits for individual AP courses. It's highly recognized both in the US and of course across the globe. So that's an option as well, is for students to just take 1 or 2 or 4 IB classes. They don't necessarily have to be working towards the diploma to participate in International Baccalaureate. Thank you.
Thanks. And so this is a great segue because these are the guidelines for an AP honors or an IB course. So if a student is currently in an AP course or an honors course, we wouldn't have any kids in an IB class right this second. If they're earning a B or higher, then they can continue in that level or on that trajectory. If they're currently in a CP class and they're like, hey, you know what, I think I'm ready, I'm going to go ahead and take this higher level course, we look for 2 A's in the transcript to move up to that level. However, if a student who is in this middle category that says I'm ready to move up, then we have what's called a waiver. So we have a link on the registration form on the PDF version and also on the website for counseling. That's a waiver that a parent would read, the student would read. They would say, yes, I'm fully aware of the recommendations from the department and the prerequisites. I don't meet them, but I still want to take the course. And we would go ahead and enroll the student in that course.
Mr.
D or
Navarro,
F, sorry?
Sorry, can I interrupt? Just make one more
Sure.
addition too. It just occurred to me that I didn't mention. We also offer some IB art classes. We have visual arts, dance, music, and theater. And there's a little bit of an exception there. If you look at the course requirements, there are, of course, introductory level courses that should be taken if a student doesn't have any other exposure to those IB art courses. But many students maybe have been taking private music lessons for 10 years, or they've been taking private dance lessons, a significant period of their life. So there is a way for them to reach out to those individual teachers and show that they already have the skill level appropriate for IB.
And same with language, correct? We would just have someone assess their language fluency.
Absolutely.
And so with that, the D and F grades, now here's the big conversation. So D equals diploma. Kids will earn 5 credits for that D grade. But an F means a fail. And if it's in a course that's required to graduate from high school, let's say English, then it needs to be repeated. If a student intends to apply to a 4-year college, then they even need to repeat that D grade, because if it's in a core subject requirement, the majority of colleges out there aren't going to accept that D as meeting that requirement. So remediation for that would be recommended as well. And so that's for the CSUs, the UCs, and many other colleges in North America. The only exception would be math, for example, or a language, in which if they earned a final terminal grade in a higher level math, like Algebra 2, that would validate the first semester of Algebra 2 and also Algebra 1. And if they took, let's say, Spanish 2 and got a C the second semester and they got an F the first semester, that's validated, but that F still is dragging down the GPA, or that D that I just discussed. So still, again, remediation is generally the way to go. And in 12th grade, this is something that will come up in the future. If a student is sailing through senior year and they're doing really well that first semester, and then they kind of slack off the second semester and they end up getting, let's say, that D, and if they even were accepted to a college, the college has the right, and they often will, rescind that offer. And that has happened before. So that means seniors should continue to work as hard as any other year. The ways that you could remediate would be, or this is Accelerate as well, summer school for us, we offer remediation through our district. This summer, it's going to be at Westlake High School. The counselors, us, we will sign students up who are interested in the remediation. We'll call our kids in and haunt them and say, hey, look, you have an F or a D, and you want to fix that? And it's in specific courses, the majority of like core courses, but no honors. And then you could also choose as a parent to take a course from any accredited school that you want. And we ask you this, the parents are responsible for finding the school, determining whether or not it's accredited, because there are literally hundreds, if not thousands of schools out there. And we don't know in our head as counselors, like, yeah, that school in like Iowa is accredited. So when you find a school you think that works, you're going to have to ask that school if in fact they are accredited. We recommend taking it a step further, Googling UC A through G list, putting the name of that school on it, and finding out if the UC considers the coursework from that school that claims to be accredited as meeting, A through G coursework. And you can apply up to 40 credits from whatever school it is you choose, or schools, to put on the Newbury Park transcript. And then there's the good old community college, which also offers classes. They don't call it summer school, really. They just call it the summer schedule. And typically you could take a class that would be counted as board remediation, or you could take something to accelerate. And again, parent responsibility to find the school and make sure it's accredited. And if you're an athlete, also make sure it's NC2A approved or NAIA. The registration resources that we have for kids and parents are listed here, and they're all live links from the website presentation. For example, information needed to complete the form that we discussed earlier, they would click here. The other thing is number 2, we have a course list. Highly recommended that the students review the course list and look at what's available to them. And not only that, looking at the descriptions of the courses and the prerequisite information. We put the shortened version on the reg forms. But then number 4, we recommend that parents and students look at our more enhanced descriptions of the courses, because in addition to describing what the student would be doing in the course, there's also often links to the teacher's syllabus or the teacher's email address who's teaching it, or the number of minutes of homework kids can expect in that course on a bad evening. And also, again, like department prereqs. And then number 5 is flowcharts. We're going to look at one of those in a second, so I'll skip over that. And we already talked about the prerequisite waiver. This is an example of dual enrollment. So dual enrollment is simply a term you'll hear like over and over again from various people. It just means it's a student in high school taking a community college class. And the benefits of doing that would be, number 1, they could potentially earn high school credit, and the magic number is 3 semester units. So if you see a course at Moorpark College that's listed as 3 semester units, and you can find that in the Moorpark schedule for courses, that means we'll give a kid 10. Before a student takes something that they think is going to count as a core class, they should talk to the counselor first, so we can go ahead and discuss that with them and make sure they're picking the right class. They get college credit in most cases. It'll say in the course description for Moorpark whether it's UC CSU transferable and what limitations there might be. And then they have a lot of options. So there's abnormal child psychology, accounting, astronomy, all kinds of cool things that kids could take that we just can't offer at Newbury Park. And then what will happen is if they do take a Moorpark class, they can potentially count it as one of their 6 courses at Newbury next year. And then in that slot, we would put dual enrollment Moorpark. That way we know they're taking the course. We'd have it in notes and queue, and we know that you as a parent blessed it because you would sign what's called an MOU form. And it is a weighted course. I do need to stress that. If a student takes a course at a community college and gets an A, that's a 5. And if it's a B, it's a 4, and a C, it's a 3. A D doesn't get weighted. And not only do we weight that, but CSU and UC weights it as well for admissions. These are the post-high school options. I'll go backwards. So some kids just want to graduate and get into the workforce. That's fine. Usually research has shown that they won't have a potential ceiling for earnings like they would. Some kids surprise us and they do. They become YouTube influencers and then they're rich. But the majority of kids that go right in the workforce typically would have done better had they've gotten more education towards something. Universities, college used interchangeably, typically a 4-year school. And then military, I tell the kids they could talk to me. I was in the military and I can give them some specifics about how to work with recruiters to kind of find out what the best route might be. Community college could be any community college. Some kids go out of state. Most kids want to stay in state because it's 2 years of free tuition for kids in California. So it's a fantastic way to go. And there's also the potential for a guaranteed transfer, which is called TAG, to 6 of the 9 UCs. And then there's another thing called ADT, or a degree with a guarantee, that could get kids into certain programs at Cal State universities from particular community colleges in particular majors. I have that linked to on the counseling website. And then finally, we have career tech education. That could be something like a kid goes to the community college and gets a certificate in auto mechanics or welding or water science and make a great living, or they can do an apprenticeship, which means the kids are paid by the potential employer to learn a trade while they're learning. That counts toward their retirement. And then after they've cleared that, they become like a journeyman and they can make a great salary as well. So I have a lot of kids going that direction. So not everyone needs to go to college. Transcripts. So if you're perplexed when you see a transcript and your student brings it home, there's several of them we discuss. One's cumulative, which means everything ever taken on the transcript gets included, including PE. The Scholastic transcript is unweighted, and it does not include PE or athletic PE. And then the one that most kids are like most interested in is the weighted GPA, which is just like the Scholastic, but they get a weighted bump for an A, B, a C. D doesn't get the bump, as we discussed. And so just note that even if Newbury Park's transcript says one thing, colleges typically recalculate their own GPAs, and that can vary greatly between college systems. College entrance exams. So first, note that due to the pandemic, a lot of colleges have just kind of thrown standardized test requirements out the window. So now a lot of colleges will have what's called test blind, which means even if your kid gets a perfect score on an SAT, no one's going to see it because the college isn't allowed to use it for admissions. That would be test blind. And then they have test flexible, and then they have test optional. There's lots of different terms. We always recommend that if a kid is considering a four-year college, they should start their list, even a rough list, and see if any of those colleges are going to, use an SAT or an ACT score. Then it wouldn't hurt a student to practice. And if they've already taken a PSAT, they can certainly take a free practice ACT, which is linked to directly on this slide. They can compare which score was natively better for them without practice. And then they can go ahead and focus on the one that was a better test for them. And then usually the kids do best on the standardized test score after they've cleared the terminal level of subjects that are included. So typically SAT or ACT covers up to some pre-calc and trig. So if a kid's in Algebra 1, it really doesn't make a whole lot of sense to take an SAT or an ACT because they probably wouldn't get the math score that they would have received had they have weighted. So there are plenty of kids that take this SAT or ACT during senior year in the fall. Some kids even take it like in the winter for scholarships. We don't recommend waiting that long, but anything you need to know about practicing the test or what test blind is, when you go to this website, which is linked to, or it's on links under counseling under test, it'll show you pretty much anything you need to know, including how to register for that. College research. So I'm going to show you, once I clear the slide, and I'm going to show you some of the tools that we can use. We currently have Naviance at Newbury Park High School. Next year, we're phasing out of that. We're going with some other program called californiacolleges.edu, which is a comprehensive program that's free to students, and the benefit would be that they can have their courses imported directly from the student information system, which will actually populate their applications for them for UC-CSU. Niche is another free one that they can use that breaks down scattergrams by major. Career Explorer is fantastic for kids to start with. If they went to careerexplorer.com tonight and spent 30 minutes taking the free test, which in the upper right-hand corner says start free test, that would give them kind of like 4 or 5 careers that meet their personality instead of just their interest. And College Vine, I'll just go ahead and show you that in a few. If you're a prospective athlete, what you're going to need to do is you're going to register with the NC2A clearinghouse. That's an 11th grade thing. You're going to have to make sure that the coursework you've taken will satisfy the requirements to play that sport in college. They vary slightly by division. So we do have, rather than you trying to remember all this information, if you click on the link for core requirements, it'll take you to an actual presentation from NC2A about what potential athletes need to know about. Tips for students. These pretty much go without saying, one of which would be developing effective study skills. A lot of students never seem to get that sorted out. So time management is crucial, as most of you probably know as adults. Study methods. A lot of the kids never even ask the teacher if they need help with something. And that would be a very good first step, like help, I need help. And the teacher's like, whoa, how can I help you? We also have tutoring on campus, which is fantastic, 3 times a day, pretty much most days of the week, and multiple subjects. We don't have any way to make sure the kids go. We suggest it and we hope they go. Maintaining good grades as always goes without saying. Monitoring grades. We have a lot of parents that have access to Q or Canvas that don't even know about it, and the kids like to keep it that way. But you do have access, and if you don't, you could ask one of our counseling secretaries to get you access, and then we recommend checking at least weekly. Some parents check thousands times more than that, and it's whatever works for you. But if parents don't know until a progress report comes out, it's typically too late then to like put the genie back in the bottle. Healthy lifestyle. We have a lot of kids that get maybe 3-4 hours of sleep, and they'll freely admit, oh yeah, I went to bed at like 2, I was on my phone, and not a good thing. And so that's why they might fall asleep in class. So good food, good health, good habits. Staying informed, we have the counseling website, and I can show you that in a second. We have a calendar that's on the main website that will tell you things like, is it an A day or is it a B day? Every week, our principal sends out some mores, which are super valuable information with live links. And then we have the main website. On-campus resources, we have the College and Career Center where Ms. Sanchez lives most of her days. And we also have Mr. Guerin who works in there and Sabrina Ornelas, and they can help you with all kinds of college and career related things. We have tutoring centers, which I just mentioned, wellness center for emotional deregulation. If you need just to take a break and get some of our trained clinicians to get you like back in the swing of things. And we have the counseling office. And so before I jump into the questions, let me just show you what I was talking about. This is the Newbury Park website. Let me show you here. This is when you go home. This is the council website. Here's our links. So all the registration stuff is here under registration. These are the registration forms. We tell kids if their dog eats one and they need another one, you can go here and click on it. The live links are there. The Rising presentation that we gave to the kids and to the parents are posted here already. I promised I would show you College Vine, which I will. So College Vine is something that kids could log into today if they wanted to. And if they did, what would happen is they would be asked to create a profile. And so let's see here. I'll go into my looking. Let's see. And where am I? Well, I'll go back. So when you sign in, I won't sign in right now, but when you do sign in, and I'm not sure why I'm signed out, what they will do is they will create a profile. And on that profile, they will put their grades, the number of courses they've taken so far that were AP or honors or whatnot. And then from there, they can pick schools. So this is a way that they would find a school and they would go by filters. So you could say, hey, you know what? I know I want a school that's in Texas, or I want a school with the lowest amount of application hour effort, or I want a school that's a 4-year, or I want one that's liberal arts or prestige level of the most prestigious or whatever. So let's pick that and this and that, and then we'll go with, let's see, tuition, we'll leave that alone. We'll campus setting, urban, and then we'll go with has D1 football, yes. And then it'll start to show you a stacking of the colleges, and then it'll show you their acceptance rates. So this, in my opinion, is one of the best ways to figure out if you have a list that's actually realistic. So if you have a 2.0 and you see that Duke University has a 6% acceptance rate, then it's probably not going to be like worth your time and effort to apply. And so once you put your profile together and it calculates with an algorithm, it'll show you your percent chance of being accepted at whichever colleges you choose from your list. And so the way that we'd recommend is the kid does something first with like a career test. And for Career Explorer, that one looks like this. And you'll just click take free test like so. And then it'll ask you things like this. How would you like to advise organizations on how to meet their business goals? And it should be the students' visceral like gut reaction. They read that and they're like, oh my God, I would hate that. Or analyzing data using statistics. Oh my gosh, that'd be the coolest thing ever. Counseling people with drug or alcohol addiction. I could take it or leave it. Create art. Oh my gosh, I'd love that. So you get the gist of the story, but at the end of about 30 minutes or so, it'll give you 4 to 6 careers that match the student's personality. And they can then work backwards, jump into College Vine and say, wow, you know, the one I really liked the most was, you know, business. And so if they type in business, they can find all the kinds of schools that also offer business in an urban campus that are prestigious or not prestigious or whatever. And it greatly, you know, reduces the stress of trying to find a list from literally thousands of colleges out there. And so College Vine, great resource. You can also look at californiacolleges.edu. We're going to have that embedded next year on the website. But for now, just for fun, we would recommend College Vine and the career test, and that'll get you started. And then in terms of other things that are on the counseling website that are super exciting, they would be anything here under links. So when you click the counseling website and you go to the homepage and you'll see links on the left, it's all alphabetical. So if students want to know things about how to read a transcript, there's an actual presentation on that. If they want to know about college resources, like how certain colleges make their admissions decisions, they can go to the college resources. If they wanted to talk about that thing I told you earlier about the apprenticeships, then they would go to career resources. And just for an example, there's an in-state apprenticeship. Let's say that the student wants to become an elevator mechanic. Let's go there. And then we'll search, and you'll see that here, the starting salary of $34.89 an hour for 48 months. They need to be 18 and have a high school or GED equivalent, and they could be on their way and off your couch in no time. So with that, we're going to turn it over and open it up for questions. And for those of you who have no questions, we thank you very much for being here tonight. And anyone who does have a question, you can either